Welcome back, everybody, to another Sabaton reaction video. Well, the folks on Patreon have spoken, and we actually have a two-way tie on the vote for what you wanted to see the next reaction video to be. So we are going to go ahead and do both of them. Today we're going to do RORKE'S Drift, and then we're going to do Winged Hussars next. We're going to go ahead and post another vote, and that'll be live by the time this video goes up. So if you want to have a voice in what the next video will be, join us over on Patreon, and you can vote on that. We're going to take a look at the Battle of RORKE'S Drift today. Of course, this one's cool because there's actually a movie that was made about it. The 1964 film Zulu is about the Battle of RORKE'S Drift, which was one of those, if you're an American like me and you're not real familiar with the Anglo-Zulu War, think the Alamo, because that's kind of what this is like. It's not a long multi-week siege like the Alamo was, but the numbers are very similar. You're dealing with 3,000 to 4,000 Zulu warriors attacking a defensive position of maybe 150 men. The 24th Foot was the primary regiment that was defending this particular place. And they ended up winning, narrowly winning a victory. But I think only something like 10% of the British soldiers were killed in this battle, whereas they inflicted something like 1,000 casualties on the Zulus. Now, obviously, we're dealing with a huge discrepancy in technology here. We've got, you know, the time period we're dealing with here is late 1870s, and we're dealing with post-American Civil War technology, kind of that gap between the American Civil War time, the Franco-Prussian War time, and World War I. But you're dealing with African warriors fighting with spears primarily. But this victory for the British infantry is primarily remembered not only because of how one-sided it was, but also because there were 11 Victoria Crosses given out for action. Something like almost 1 in 10 of these men received a Victoria Cross for their actions there. Victoria Cross is the British equivalent to the American Medal of Honor. And there were 7 given out to members of the 24th Foot, which is the most Victoria Crosses ever given to a single regiment for a single action in the history of the British Army. So that's a big, big deal. So we're not actually going to watch the official Sabaton reaction video or lyric video. We're actually going to watch a music video that was put together with the music from Sabaton, but with clips from the 1964 film that starred Michael Caine, Zulu, which is about the Battle of RORKE'S Drift. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So you can see them hurriedly putting together defenses. If I understand right, they had about a 5-minute heads up that these thousands of Zulu warriors were coming. And so they were kind of cut off from the main British force. And so they had just a couple of minutes to just really hurriedly throw together a defense. And I think that's what we're seeing here.
Had been slain, chance for peace and justice gone, and the thoughts had been in vain. The prince had been abducted, and here on the path of war. Now the 1,500 men are dead, and the Zulus at the door. Zulus attack, fight back to back, show them no mercy, and fire at will, kill or be killed.
Now, one thing I noticed right away, and I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about this battle beyond what I've read at different times in the past. But you can see right away they've got breech-loading rifles, which is a big, big deal. It's much, much easier with this technology than it would have been even maybe 15 years earlier to have been able to fight this battle for the British.
Facing a waiting, a hostile spear, a new frontier, the end is near. There's no surrender, the lines must hold, the story told, RORKE'S Drift controlled. Nature of the fateful day as they head towards the drift. Stacked in boxes, fortified, preparations must be swift. Spears and shields of oxen, high facing uniforms and guns. As the rifles fire, echoes high, beating like the sound of guns.
I gotta say too. I mean, think about the courage it took for these Zulu warriors. Yeah, they outnumber them like 20-1, but you're charging into a line of gunfire with just a shield and a spear, which that shield's almost worthless to stop a bullet, but it certainly would have helped when you got in at bayonet distance. But brave warriors, absolutely. So one other thing to talk about is in the aftermath of this battle, they said that they counted 351 Zulu bodies that were thrown into mass graves to be buried. But there had been earlier instances where British wounded had been killed and mutilated after battles, and so the British kind of did the same thing here. They said they didn't spare the wounded, so any Zulus who were wounded who had been left behind were most likely killed as well, and we don't know how many there were. We know there was an estimate of something like 500 wounded in addition to the 350 that were killed, but for the most part, the movie, my understanding is, got it pretty accurate. There are some really minor discrepancies about like the names of a regiment that wasn't being used at the time and things like that, but these were most of these soldiers were folks who had grown up working in the industry of Birmingham, England. It was a Warwickshire regiment. So I'm kind of curious now to go back and look at the names of the men who fought here, because I would guess, being from Birmingham, that I may find that I'm related to some of them, even if distantly, because most of my family who came from England in the 19th century came from the area around Birmingham. So I'm going to do a little more kind of looking into that. I know there are some Welshmen as well. But if you have something to add to the conversation, let's talk about the Battle of Rorke's Drift, the Anglo-Zulu War. Use the comment section below. Please hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And I want to say a big thank you, because I'm guessing we're going to go over 5,000 subscribers today. And I created the channel over the summer, but really only started doing daily content about a month ago. So I'm grateful to all of you for pushing us so high, so fast. Looking forward to seeing where this channel can go. So thank you for that. We'll see you again soon.